Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to be looking at the age-old question of if GPU mining is dead. So lately we've been in this kind of a slump for GPU mining. Not a lot of profitability to be had. Mostly the profitability is coming from ASICs on the mining side of cryptocurrency. So we're basically just going to be looking through a bunch of profitabilities, a bunch of charts and stuff like that, and then I'll give my opinion on GPU mining being dead. So since the Ethereum merge, we obviously knew that GPU mining would be kind of not profitable for a while. And then we had a slightly smaller bull run for GPU mineable coins in terms of Kaspa coin, Lithium, all these other coins like Radiant and Nexa. These coins that if you mined them at the start, you would have had this nice little run for 6 months where all of them were pretty high in terms of the price. It was around 5 to 20x your profits of what you mined. So if you held onto them, there would have been a nice little price increase that you could have sold at around a year down the line after the Ethereum merge. If you mined any of those coins, then you would have technically had good profitability and most of the coins would have been up since the Ethereum merge basically. So I think the GPU mineable coins right now, we have a bunch of them that are out there, but the only ones that have really shone through lately have been Lithium, Pirin, Ironfish is kind of getting there just because of that new algorithm switch. But those are the ones off the top of my mind which are actually doing well for GPU miners. However, we did have a wider variety of things to mine after the merge. We did think that Flux, Ravencoin, and Ergo were going to be okay, but obviously they received a lot of hash rates, so we couldn't really mine them for profitability, so it was basically spec mining. And as I said, most of the coins that we did spec mine, on the channel at least, or in the space, they basically did very well around a year later. Kaspa being one of the best ones. Lithium shot up around a year and a half after. So the previous all-time high for Lithium was around 4 months ago. So that did very well. And I'm just trying to say that basically we've had our own little mini bull run for GPU miners if you stuck with it. And if you spec mined a lot of coins back then, I know a lot of them have failed basically, but a lot of them did go up in price. So this is a comparison of daily emissions in proof of work networks. This is a Medium article. I'll link this in the description if you want to have a read. So it basically goes through the top 21, I believe, proof of work cryptocurrencies, and it's ranked by their daily emissions. So daily emissions is how many coins produced per day times by the price of the coin. So with Bitcoin, it'd be not 900 anymore, it'd be 450 times by the price of Bitcoin. So around 60,000. Which would give you 28 million or around 29 million in daily emissions. And then you have the same for Dogecoin, which is at 2.3 million, Kaspa at 1 million, and then obviously the rest down here. One thing I do want to note is the percentage here. So in terms of the daily emissions, Bitcoin holds 83% at the top. But if you don't include Bitcoin, Dogecoin and Kaspa coin basically make up a lot of the emissions. So when we're talking about the state of GPU mining, basically the top 6 coins in terms of the emissions per day, so how much the network is producing in terms of a dollar amount or the liquidity amount, all of them in the top 6 are all ASIC hardware. So basically none of them are in the GPU. You have to go down to Ravencoin, and even then I don't think it's very profitable on Ravencoin to be mining with the GPU. We can actually check the profits right now. So on Ravencoin, even with a 4090, you're only making 36 cents profit, and that's at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So I don't think that there's much profitability to be had because not a lot of people are having 10 cents per kilowatt hour anymore. It's gone up slightly more in the past couple of months. So Ravencoin is still holding out for GPU miners, but I wouldn't recommend mining Ravencoin right now unless you've got really cheap power or you've got very efficient GPUs. There is more profits to be had out there in terms of GPU mining. And then second, below that one, if you're discounting all of the ASIC ones, you have a Lithium, which is technically GPU mineable, but it's fastly switching over to FPGAs and probably ASICs very soon. Then below it, we have Pirin Hash. So I want to also note that by market cap, Pirin Hash is also the lowest market cap here, but the emissions are actually relatively high when compared to, a market cap of 2 billion from Monero, where the emissions are lower than Pirin. I think Pirin is not going to be around for that long, to be perfectly honest. I think it's only up here just because it's a new coin, people are mining it, which is providing a lot of daily emissions for miners, but it is good for miners to sell that Pirin coin and convert it into something bigger. So as I said, in terms of hardware, GPU mining basically makes up probably around 3% of all daily emissions across all proof-of-work networks. So 97% is basically coming from ASIC mineable coins. And Lithium's about to switch to ASIC soon as well, so that's going to take off around 1.97% as well, so there's going to be way less. And basically what I think is that GPU mining is basically going to be spec coin mining for the next year or so, depending on how the market moves. Obviously, we've had the halving now. We're going to see how that plays out in the future. Maybe in 2025, we're expecting somewhere between September 2025 where it's real all-time highs for a lot of coins. But for the most part, GPU mining is basically spec mining at this point. When we're on hashrate.no, as you can see here, the top profitability that they have, I know the figures on hashrate.no aren't the greatest in terms of the profitability, so you always have to input your own calculations, but just rough estimates, as you can see here, is Ironfish. It's been basically providing a lot of profitability for these 40 series cards. And then as you go down, there's Xano, which is a very, very low market cap, very low emissions. Clore AI has been very good, I will say that. But a lot of the other AI coins that we were kind of speculative on and they had a little price increase, they have since gone down and haven't really performed that well. So if you're looking into AI coins in terms of mining, I'd stick with Clore AI. It has probably the best opportunity going forward in the future. We have Conflux, which has always been a good one. If we look here, Conflux is actually producing 41,000 a day. Clore AI, as I said, is 63. The only thing that I don't like too much about it is the Karpow algorithm. Obviously, it runs very hot. It's a lot more energy. So you kind of have to hedge your bets in terms of if you want to run your cards hot or if you want to go for a slightly more efficient algorithm in terms of GPU mining. As I said, it is going to be basically speculative mining for the foreseeable future. And when we're actually looking at this across the board, if you discount the 40 series, because they're going to be profitable for pretty much most coins, and I'd say the 7000 series, anything under that, a lot of these are just random pairs of coins. So Conflux and CAS, Nexa, Xano, CTXC, I've never even heard of this, so probably not a good bet to go with that. Clore AI, that might be a good bet going forward. So they have this Eternity coin that's popped up here. This was actually relatively profitable before the Ethereum merge. But as you can see, it's basically a random spew of coins that are profitable for different types of cards if you discount the newer cards that have been released, such as the 7000 or the 40 series. Which basically means for the foreseeable future, it's going to be either spec mining or you mine the most profitable and convert it into a kaspa coin or a Bitcoin or Ethereum, whichever coin you have the most conviction with for the next bull run. It could even be Solana that you mix it into. So I know a lot of GPU miners, if they are profitable right now, that's what they're doing. They're basically mining for the most profits and rolling it all into a higher conviction coin. Now, this list of proof-of-work cryptocurrencies doesn't list everything in terms of proof-of-work cryptocurrencies, but it lists pretty much most of them. And as you can see here, we have them by market cap, but if we go to all-time high, a lot of them have dropped. So Zcash is down pretty much 100%. If we keep going, we see smaller coins like Castillo Network. I've seen that be profitable on hashrate.no. I wouldn't necessarily mine anything that is profitable just for a couple of days. Normally on hashrate.no, you can actually sort it by, so I believe on hashrate.no it's done by 24 hours or the profitability right now, so you can pick which one you want to go with. But for the most part, a lot of coins are going to pop up to be profitable for a while. If we click on coins here and we scroll down, basically a lot of these coins will pop up for a little bit and then they'll go back into unprofitable ranges. So it could just be, you know, the difficulty on the network and stuff like that. They might pop up like this Xano coin. It's doing around 1,700 in emissions, which is basically nothing in terms of the emissions on the network. And if you were to mine this, I don't think it would be a good hold for the foreseeable future. I would roll the profits into something better than that coin. So you see Fero there, but that's never been too good. Vertcoin, these are normally older coins. Beam coin there is down 99%. A lot of these coins are down quite a lot. Cadena, which is obviously an ASIC network, is down 97%. and is only producing 52,000 in emissions, and it has a relatively high market cap for how much it's producing right now. Ethereum POW, as we said, that is technically an ASIC mineable one as well, I believe, because you can mine it with those Ethereum Classic ASICs. It has a large market cap, but not producing that much emissions. So this is the thing that we need to look at in terms of GPU mining, is does it have a high market cap, and does that coincide with the emissions that it's producing? So I'm going to just take an example here. We have Lithium at 170 million, and it's producing 108,000 per day. And then if you go a couple lines down, you have Monero, which is at 2.3 billion, and it's only producing 56,000 per day. So you can kind of see how the network is not really keeping up in terms of the emissions compared to the market cap. So we have coins like Sia Coin. I know that this was actually on the list as producing relatively well in terms of the emissions, but I still believe that the market cap's too high. This is probably due to it being strictly ASICs on the network. I know with coins like Cadena that we just talked about, that was ASIC from the jump as well. We have Nexa, which is down 90, Ravencoin 89%, Litecoin is at 80, Dogecoin 78. So the only real ones that have been performing relatively well in terms of their all-time highs has been Lithium, Kaspa, Flux is actually doing relatively well. Bitcoin is down 11% from the all-time high. So a lot of these have been doing relatively well. I'd say Nervous Network maybe. Anything that's under 50% from the all-time high, I wouldn't really put my convictions into it necessarily. And one thing that I do want to note if we're talking about cryptocurrency coins and the price of these coins is normally it's compared to a dollar amount. So if it's up 10%, it's up 10% in a dollar amount. But if you actually switch it to the Bitcoin price comparison, you can see if it's trading against Bitcoin. So for example, Dogecoin is up 7.51, which means it's outperforming Bitcoin over the last 60 days. Bitcoin Cash is outperforming Bitcoin over the last 60 days as well. But most of these are in the red, which basically means that they're underperforming Bitcoin. We have Ravencoin right here, which is 17.53, actually doing very well compared to what we see, with this sea of red, basically. If we click here, we can see a bunch of these coins here are basically coins that you wouldn't want to mine anyway. So we're going to go down to one that we could actually mine. And that basically arrives us at Bitcoin Cash, Ravencoin, Vertcoin surprisingly, but I wouldn't touch that either. Dogecoin is doing pretty well, Nervous Network, and then it comes to Bitcoin. Litecoin is up 0.18. So when you see that a lot of these altcoins are up, 10, 20%, you have to look at if it's actually up against Bitcoin and not the dollar amount. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But for the most part, I'm just going to say that GPU mining is probably not the play for the next year and a bit. I would say that ASIC mining is definitely the play, as you can see, just based off this chart. And if you're going off of strictly numbers, you would see that the emissions per day, basically all of them for proof of work coins, are coming from ASIC mineable coins. Now it also doesn't list between ASICs and FPGAs. I know that Chia Network, this is HDD, so hard drives basically. That's producing a relative amount of daily emissions, but it takes a lot to actually capture that amount of daily emissions in terms of the hardware needed. So it's not really worth it, in my opinion, for Chia mining. One thing I do want to note is CPU mining. So CPUs on Zeph are doing relatively well. I wouldn't touch Monero with a CPU mineable coin. There are other ones like Darrow, I believe, that is CPU mineable. But for the most part, Zephyr is going to be your best play for CPU mineable coins. There was Raptorium back in the day, but I believe that that's kind of fizzled out right now. And Zephyr is basically the best one to be mining with a CPU. So the profits are relatively stable on Zephyr coin. It has been up and down lately, but when it has that massive price rise that we saw up to, I believe it was around $30, and now it's come down to around $11. So it might be a play if you're looking for a quick 2 or 3x in the future. Zephyr might be the play. If you have the CPUs there and they're just lying around not doing anything, you might as well stick them onto a slightly more profitable and more stable profitability in CPU mining, and then convert these profits back into a bigger coin like Bitcoin or kaspa, whichever one you have the highest conviction with. Now, when it comes to FPGAs, I wouldn't trust any of these profits currently, just because there's a lot of FPGAs on the network right now, on Lithium, on Radiant, on Kylocoid. So those have basically been pushed out of profitability. The Superscalar K10 is registering Carlson as actually being the most profitable. So if you have one of them, maybe stick it on Carlson, but in my opinion, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't really say that FPGAs are going to be a good buy going forward. I would stick to maybe CPUs or ASICs for the next couple of months. If you are profitable with these higher end GPUs, obviously roll it into something that you believe in more. I think a lot of people are getting profitability from Pirin and Ironfish, that kind of dual pair. I know there's a lot of people mining with the BC250s on Wart, I believe, or maybe it was a different coin, but they're taking that profitability and they're rolling it into something better. We obviously had a lot of hash rate hit the Lithium, Radiant, and Kylocoin network, so we'll see how that plays out. Radiant's profitability is basically in the dirt. Kylocoin, same thing, but they are actually moving their algorithm to CPU. So we could see another coin pop up for CPUs in Kylocoin. And then with Lithium, we'll probably have to see ASICs come online to push out some of that hash rate from that massive FPGA farm. So overall, I'd say that GPU mining is probably not going to be the play for quite a while. We kind of knew this. We had a little bull run probably around 8 to 12 months ago. And for the most part, I'd say we should probably stick to CPU and ASIC mining going forward. That's basically where most of the profits are going to be had for the upcoming months. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this.